Howdy, howdy. Dylan with Huntsville Guns. I have in front of me an M1 Carbine. Normally, not a big deal. I see quite a few of these every year. Reproduction, Fulton guns, World War II production, and post-World War II production guns. And they're normally run-of-the-mill, assembled from parts, nothing fancy. I am by no means an expert on the subject, but I do have a fair bit of experience with this platform, and I do get to see quite a few of them. I am a collector of military surplus as much as the next gun enthusiast, and have owned several throughout the years, usually high production number guns from Inland or companies like that. And this is a Saginaw marked gun, and so first glance I said, oh, it's in really good shape. It's a fairly common production manufacturer. Saginaw produced a pile of guns. And then I took a closer look, and it's actually marked Saginaw SG. And something in the back of my mind said, man, I've heard of this before, but I don't off the jump remember everything that I've ever heard. And so I did a little quick Google search, and I believe I have an Irwin Peterson Saginaw produced gun. This is after hours, I've already closed, it's well into the evening now, shut down for the day, but I am going to do a little investigation into this gun. I have an M1 Carbine book, but I actually think I have it loaned to a friend of mine right now. But I'm gonna do a little bit of research, and I'm gonna try to provide y'all some reference material for what I find in the description down below. So anything that I find that I think is pertinent, that I have a quality or a citable resource for, I'll drop that in the description for this video. But hopefully we can get a good look at a relatively scarce, lower production number gun. This does belong to one of my local pawnbrokers, and he is in the business of buying and selling, so eventually this one will be available. Kind of a little afternoon research session, if you will. I will probably do a quick write-up on this one. I don't appraise firearms professionally, but I do like to provide some reference material for customers. This being a friend of mine and a customer, I'm going to give him a little bit of reference material when he does go to sell this one, what it's comprised of and who made what. All right, so it is the following day. I have done an insane level of, probably pretty borderline insane level of research. Did a bit of looking. I do own a couple of resource books for U.S. rifles from World War II. Apparently all of those are on loan to somebody else. And so I dug through my collection of PDF versions of a lot of books. If you're not using archive.org as a gunsmith, you're leaving a lot of meat on the table. There's a lot of really good free to download resources there for research like this project. So I just got done reassembling this. I want to give you kind of a better view of it, so I've got a little bit better lighting at this angle, and then we'll jump back over to the bench and I want to talk about what I found. So this is a refinished stock. You can see it's got a pretty good sheen to it, unlike a war issue stock would have been. This has definitely been refinished, but it is marked here with Rock Island Arsenal. So this is an Arsenal refinish. And then somebody probably put a coat of True Oil or boiled linseed oil. Got a couple of coats on it, but a very beautiful appearing stock. You can see some of the handling marks on the gun here, but very clean, aesthetically good looking little rifle. I'm gonna not show the serial number, but this is a 1,858,000 range serial number, and it is marked SG, S, G, I will have some pictures that I put in the video here, but you can see U.S. carbine. The rifle is empty and unloaded. I actually just test fired it. It's a sweet shooting little carbine. I would own this one personally. But what I have found is that this is probably an Arsenal refinish. It is an Irwin Peterson serial number range. It is marked Saginaw S, G, it does have the appropriate index mark on the left-hand side of the receiver to confirm that it was a Grand Rapids gun. If you're not an M1 Carbine person, I'm going to leave some resources down in the description below. You can kind of do some light reading or some very intense reading if you want to about these. There's a lot of major manufacturers, and then there are a lot of minor manufacturers who made parts for the major manufacturers. And this gun appears to be an Irwin Peterson serial number range gun that was made by Saginaw at the Grand Rapids plant. And there are very few Saginaw parts or Irwin Peterson parts in this firearm. Fortunately or unfortunately, however you want to look at it, it looks like this one did go through an Arsenal refinish. It does have an original Underwood 943 barrel with the Arsenal mark on it, which would be original to this gun, corresponds with the serial number range. And the bore, I'll put a screen grab if I can. It's hard to get images from the test long camera that I use to check the barrel. Chamber on this one is in good shape for an 80-plus-year-old firearm, and the bore is actually really good shape. This is an excellent shooter, but an excellent candidate to conserve and put on the wall or to continue shooting. It's got a great rifling left in the barrel. I tell you what, let me jump back over to the bench. Let's talk about all of the little details that I have found. Let me grab, I have an Excel spreadsheet going. Let me grab that right quick. Saginaw SG serial number range corresponds with Grand Rapids production with an Irwin Peterson block, the first block of serial numbers. The barrel is Underwood, marked 9 of 43 with a proof mark. The recoil plate is marked WWII under the rear tang. Like I said, the stock and handguard are Rock Island Arsenal refinishes. They do have the EB inspector mark, and they do have the P under the pistol grip area for the proof mark. It is a correct war issue stock that was refurbished, most likely post-war. The bolt is marked A.I., which is Dayton Racket Co., made in Ohio for the Inland Division. They also made it for Saginaw and National Postal. There's a couple of other companies that they made these bolts for. It is the flat bolt, not a round bolt. Let's see, the slide is a Type 3 slide. It is marked SG, which is Saginaw production. The trigger housing is November 16 or National Postal meter. The hammer is W marked. This is a Type 3 hammer, which is a little bit later production, starting, I want to say, September 43, if I remember right. I need to make some more notes on this Excel spreadsheet that goes with this rifle. The magazine catch is in the underlined M version, Type 4. Perfectly corresponds with a refurbish of this gun. The safety is not a push button, but it is a toggle safety. So there were two different styles. One was a push button, this one toggles. But it is underlined M for McCulloch Co. It is correct for a refurb. The barrel band is marked MMO. The outer barrel band, I should say, is marked MMO, which is Mado Mist Incorporated, and then the bayonet lug is marked EM-Q. There's a little bit of kind of a misnomer, if you will, but the Q at the end of that EMQ is for Quality Hardware. Quality Hardware made a ton of these bayonet lugs and the inner barrel band for basically all of the major manufacturers, and they would just have a suffix Q or an additional Q stamped onto them. The front sight is EU stamped. It is a stamped and brazed front sight, not a milled or a cast one like post-war production, but is EU stamped, and if I'm not mistaken, that is Prestol Division of Detroit Harvester. The rear sight is a Type 2. It's milled, and it has an H in the shield. It corresponds with the production year of this gun. And then the butt plate, by the best estimation that I can come up with, there are a lot of different designs, and there's not like a concrete resource on who made what design and when, but Saginaw is the best I can come up with. So some Saginaw parts, some parts for different other various subcontractors, and then some other major contractors. But like I said, my best estimation is that this is 100% an Irwin Peterson serial number block receiver made at the Grand Rapids production facility for Saginaw. It is marked and has all of the characteristic marks to correspond with that. It is in the right serial number block. It has all of the correct indications that it is an Irwin Peterson serial number block made by Saginaw. And then it looks like the rest of the gun, with the exception of the barrel, was either refurbished or had major parts replaced in a Rock Island refurbishment sometime late war or post-war. How this plays out for me. As a gun dealer, this goes, because it is an Irwin Peterson serial number block, that is a low production series of serial numbers comparative to other manufacturers. It's relatively low. And so this goes from a $1,000 gun, hypothetically, to a $2,000 gun just because of that lower production number. Because it has been refurbished, a lot of the metal is correct finish for a war finish, but because it is not a war bring home but was refurbished post-war, in my best estimation, that does detract a little bit from it, and because it doesn't have a whole pile of Irwin Peterson parts thrown at it, for one, that lends to me more credence to the fact that it was refurbished professionally and this isn't an assemblage of parts, but also that it does have some collector value above and beyond just being an M1 carbine, war production M1 carbine. So I'm gonna have a conversation with my buddy who owns this rifle. Like I said, I don't think that this is one that is just to hang on the rack and sell to the first guy who comes through who's interested in an M1 carbine. This is a bit more of a collector item. It definitely falls into the additional value based on the serial number range and production value of it. So I will have that conversation with him. Like I said, it's kind of hard to find an exact comparison just because of the smattering of parts that are thrown at this one. But they all, the finish on all of them correspond with a very early post-war refurbishment. I think that this gun was used during war use and then was refurbished at Rock Island quickly after the war and then put back into service in an arsenal somewhere. Didn't see an incredibly large amount of use there, and then was probably sold shortly thereafter. That's my kind of best estimation. It is very much a functional firearm. I have test fired it and it functions flawlessly using both some commercial ammo and then some wartime specification ammo. It runs absolutely flawlessly. It's one that I would own for my collection. It is definitely not the gun that you're going to sell to the first guy walking in and recognizes it an M1 carbine. This is definitely more for the purist or the collector. Somebody who's looking for one of those Irwin Peterson serial number block guns to complete a collection, this would be a perfect one. Somebody who appreciates the the history behind it, but also wants to continue to use it, perfect candidate for that as well. So I'm gonna get this one wiped down. I'm not doing a deep clean. It definitely has some cosmoline and some, it has been stored for a long time. But I'm gonna get it wiped down real quickly, and then I'm gonna put it back in the safe, and then I have another gun for a follow-up video that I need to do some filming on. If you want to see more of this gun, drop it in the comments section. I have the availability to do a complete total breakdown. Let's get pictures and images of everything. That's a very long video, and talking about the production values and figures for each of the specific manufacturers. I can do that research, but I'm not going to jump into it just willy-nilly. There's going to have to be some interest in it. But again, hope you found this one useful. It is a very cool little carbine that you don't get to see every day of the week. Being an Irwin Peterson serial number block, this is the first one I've had come through the door of the shop. I've had a few other M1 carbines that were somewhat scarce, but not one quite this scarce. So thanks for hanging out and running down the rabbit hole with me.